How is everybody? It is Thursday, and it is time to go over some lore that I think is pretty cool for the Raven Guard. So, each and every week, I think we're going to do at least one lore video where I just come on and I talk spiel about a certain topic in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. These aren't going to be your Lewityn level or Voldemort level deep dives into the lore and what it means and what it goes by. It's literally going to be my opinions and what I think Games Workshop should do with the lore moving forwards, and how I think they could perhaps bring to life the far future, the dark far future. And to be honest with you, there are certain people that I will not be changing very much, and the Raven Guard are one of those people. I was requested to do it a few weeks ago, and I said, yeah, sure, I'll go ahead and do it. But to be honest with you, the Raven Guard don't have much that's wrong with them in terms of the actual lore. I know last time we did the Inquisition, and they have a whole gamut of stuff that is really, really, really off and weird and not very good. But there are certain parts of the lore that Games Workshop actually do deserve a lot of credit for. So I hope you don't mind that this video isn't going to be a scathing attack on the Raven Guard and on what there will be a few little changes here and there. But I'm not going to go over, again, in these videos, I'm not going to give you a blow-by-blow account. You have other videos for that. And quite frankly, they do a much better job than I do of doing lore videos in that context. What you're here for, hopefully, is my opinion and what I think the Games Workshop could do better with the Raven Guard, and where I think the Raven Guard are really, really, really strong. In the first place I want to say where they are extremely strong is the aesthetic of the Raven Guard as a whole. These are big, scary emo boys. They are guys who are prone to melancholy, they are prone to all things being stealthy and being on their own and being in small, capable units that go away and do jobs on their own. That is something that I really, really, really like. I love it when a legion, or a chapter even, is specialised to a certain thing, and that thing is incorporated into every single part of their narrative style choice. And what I mean is when you have people like the White Scars back in the day. The White Scars back in the day were this weird amalgamation legion that were just kind of Mongols in space. But they didn't really have anything to them. There wasn't really anything there that you could really see and look at and go, wow, that's a really cool culture that they have over there in the White Scars. Whereas now we have the fact that they are poets and they are, laughing warriors, and they love war, and they go to battle with a glad heart and all this, and it's all factored into the hunt and their gleeful riding fast and living life to the fullest. That's great, and now we have an actual culture and a switching culture that is a legion as a whole. The Raven Guard are one of those legions that I did think for a long time were just like that. They were not happy. What I mean is they weren't given any depth. There was like a base level of, here is Corvus Corax, here's a sad boy, and he went into the Eye of Terror after he corrupted most of his sons by trying to make more of them, right? So the one problem I do have with the Raven Guard is the fact that they don't really get any time to shine in the Horus Heresy books. If you go back and you read Corax or anything like that, he does get some really cool moments where he's dueling with people, but the Raven Guard themselves are the victims of sabotage by the Alpha Legion on more than one occasion. And their actual part in the Horus Heresy, outside of Nicona Shadowkin, is nothing. Is pretty much nothing. They go to Istvan, they get annihilated, and they pretty much do not very much after that. Now, that is something I have a problem with, because we have other legions that were at the Dropsite Massacre who actually go on to have a really staunch part to play in the Horus Heresy, the Salamanders being one, and the Iron Hands being another, and with Shadrach Medusan and all them. What we don't get, and what I don't like, is that, but aside from Shadowkin, we have a very little view of what Corax is actually doing, aside from his own book. And his own book even doesn't go into that much detail on what he actually gets to do and where he actually gets to go. The one scene I really like about the Raven Guard, that I loved, was the fact that nobody sees the Emperor's true self. Nobody. Nobody sees the Emperor's true self. They don't see the monster hiding underneath what's actually there. Apart from Corvus Corax, he does see what's actually under there. And the Emperor doesn't like it. He actually finds Corvus Corax a bit off-putting, because Corvus literally tells him, hey, I remember that look you gave, when you first saw me when I was a child, when I was in my gestation pod, And the Emperor literally says, yes, I forgot how perceptive you can be, or something like that. He seems genuinely pissed off that Corvus has actually looked past his veneer and actually sees who he actually is. Or at least got a glimpse of who he actually is. And that is something that wasn't really explored, that I love. The fact that Corvus Corax can choose whether you can see him or not in the ultimate version of stealth, right? You can choose whether you can see him or not for the most part. But also, I really like the bit of the lore where he can choose to see the real you or not. Isn't that cool? That all the veils that you put up, he can see right through them. And that's how I would change the Raven Guard as a whole. I would actually make them a tortured legion and a tortured chapter, because they can see the true epithet of people. Have you ever seen in things like Harry Potter or those Russian novels about the Night Watch and things like that, or even in Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, if you're a Malkavian in that game and you're watching the TV starts talking to you, and it always tells the truth. So that if you're watching the news, instead of them giving you the version of the news that the political party has given them, they will literally give you the actual news and what the political party is trying to keep from you, because you're Malkavian and you see through all of the bullshit through like different levels of reality. I would love it if the Raven Guard had something similar. Whereas the curse of the Raven Guard is that Corvus Corax did, when he was a child, see through the Emperor's veneer, and it scarred him for life and made him this morose guy who doesn't want to be found by anybody. He's literally just like hiding in the shadows for most of his life, and his legion takes on that nature and that curse, in that they can actually see the true meaning and thoughts behind most people's actions and statements. I would absolutely love that. The fact that they take this dark veneer of a guy who's really tortured soul, and it also leans in to the Edgar Allan Poe imagery, because if you don't know, Corvus Corax is one of the most on-the-nose Primarchs for real-life inspirations. He literally rides into the Eye of Terror and quotes the line, "Nevermore." He literally just says "Nevermore" as he's off towards the... That is literally a line from an Edgar Allan Poe that's called The Raven. And it is something that I've taught in schools, and it's a pretty cool poem, I'd like to say, from a horror standpoint, in the fact that to find the horror, you actually need to talk about it, and I dissect it quite a lot, and I love the fact that that's a really good amalgamation of what the Raven Guard are. You need to talk about them to figure out just what the hell these guys are. What do they do, right? And I think that's one way that you could really, really, really expand on their lore, is to make them these tortured souls who are just like the Raven. They see the real person behind all of the veneers and the bullshit that they see, quoted throughout the Imperium all of the time. They're tortured because they see what the Imperium is. They see past all the vitriol. They see past all of the religious imagery to see that it's a failed dream of the Emperor once had, and they're protecting something because there's no alternative. There's literally this, or mankind is annihilated. And that's why they're tortured, and that's why they go to war in such a pragmatic way. That's why they go to war with snipers. That's why they go to war in ways that aren't glorious or aren't anything like that. Because they eschew all of that. Because they see the true futility of things like that. They're a depressive chapter and a depressive legion. Not because they're Emo-Boys. Not because they're like, well, we're a bit sad. No. Because they see everybody for what they actually are. And they're disappointed. How deep is that? That's how I would change the Raven Guard lore. They would just be disappointed by the people around them all the time. And that's why they're a deeper legion. That's why Corvus Corax is kept as far away from the Emperor as possible. I would work that into his backstory. The Emperor wants nothing to do with Corvus Corax, which only makes him more paranoid and more sad. He's like, why don't I have any friends? Because all of my brothers think that our father doesn't like me. That would be the most perfect way to set him up as being this depressive Primarch who's amazing at stealth and amazing at close combat. Now, I'd keep all the Shuriken stuff. I love the fact that he's the only one with a Primarch kill to his name. He's like the only Marine to ever kill a Primarch. Alright, Fulgrim came back after taking a bolt round to the eye at 1,000 paces, but still, he was still dead, and then he was resurrected, right, by Emperor's Children bullshit, plot armor. But, like, he died. He gets around through the eye, his brains are blown out the back of his skull, he died. Fulgrim is killed by a sniper bullet by a lowly space marine called Nicona Sharokin. So, who, by the way, has the single greatest name in Warhammer 40,000 history. Nicona fucking Sharokin. What a name for a dude. And that is how I would change the Raven Guard. I don't have really much to say about them, because I love them as a chapter, I love them as a legion. I think that they're written relatively well for a chapter that relies so much on Edgar Allan Poe's imagery and things like that. Apart from that, I really have nothing to say about them. I think they're an awesome chapter. They're something that I would actually collect myself if I wanted to do stealth all of the time. I think they're not really that well represented on the tabletop, which is a real shame, because the Raven Guard are one of the most underappreciated legions, and even in the Horus Heresy, I would give them a reason for not being around the Emperor a lot. Why does Corvus Corax not go to the Emperor's aid so much? Why does he stay away? Well, he stays away for the most part, in my lore, because the Emperor's terrified of him. He wants him nowhere near him at any point, because he sees right through who he is. He's an anomaly. So when Vulcan and all of these other Primarchs that had shattered legions make their way to the Emperor to defend him in some way, even Magnus, he doesn't want Corvus Corax anywhere near him. And I know in Corax's novel, we see their relationship blossom a little bit more, but I would scrap that. I'd say, no, the Emperor wants nothing to do with this guy. And he's more of a recluse. He forces him to be more of a recluse. I love the Raven Guard for that, and that's how I would change them. What do you guys think? I mean, I don't really have much to rant about in this one, because I quite like the Raven Guard. Next time, I am taking updates on what I should do next as far as legions. I will probably do Death Guard, because that was asked for in our last video, so I will go and do them. But I will be doing another lore rant next week on something that I don't like so much, and that is Rebute Gilliman. Haha. So we'll go into that one, and we'll see how things go. I love you all a long time. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow for some more Hobby Nightmares. Have a really good day, guys. Enjoy the end of your working week. See you tomorrow.